getting quite excited about being involved in this the panel. We met one supporter of 30 plus years who told me that it was the worst first half he'd ever seen. I haven't picked them to win every week, you just haven't got many of them right. That's what they said wonderful about this game, isn't it? It's a matter of their opinion, and I'm quite willing to be shot down again.
Hello, I'm Matthew Chris, and welcome to another edition of Premier League Predictions. Playing just ahead of me in the number 9 role this week, as he is every week this season, is Celtic and Manchester United legend Brian McClair. Brian, I believe you got a magnificent 8 out of 10 predictions correct last week. I just wondered where this ranks compared to your 4 Premier League titles, European Cup Winners' Cup, 2 FA Cups, Scottish Premiership and Scottish Cup.
Well, first of all, I'd never really played as a number 9, but it's very kind of you to say that. I'm getting quite excited about being involved in this the panel because it's given me a distraction right over the weekend. I'm checking out all sorts of different games and all sorts of different scenarios that are going on. I was happy last week, as you well know, that the first one came in as a draw, Newcastle and Liverpool. After that, Newcastle and City. After that, I'd kind of relaxed a bit. However, it transpires over the weekend into Monday night. I think there was 8 right results, no correct, if I can remember right, not exactly correct.
Yeah.
One game was another draw that was potentially could have gone one way, but and the other game was of course Manchester United losing quite convincingly at home to a rampant Tottenham Hotspur side.
Okay, we'll hold that thought because we'll get on to that shortly. But we're going to start off with the first game of the weekend, the 12:30 kickoff. It's winless Crystal Palace against high-flying Liverpool. Do you see the Eagles breaking their duck this weekend?
Well, as you said, Matthew, winless Palace have won one of the last 14 games, 14 Premier League games against Liverpool, and have conceded more goals against this team, Liverpool team, than any other. 69, would you believe? And 38 of them at home, including a 6 and a 7 at one point. Mo Salah has scored in each of Liverpool's last 3 away games. This season, can he make it 4 for the second time in his Premier League career, which would leave him out on his own? I think there's 7 or 8 or maybe 9 others who have also have achieved this. So I'm going to go. I think there'll be goals again in the game. Well, unfortunately, there'll be goals going against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace 1, Liverpool 3.
Okay, Liverpool soldier on. 3 o'clock games. The first one we're going to look at today is Arsenal, also high-flying, against Southampton, who are bottom of the league.
Well, second bottom.
Second bottom. Stand correct.
Southampton's away games versus Arsenal in the Premier League are the most one-sided in the competition's history. Out of 24 games, Southampton have managed to lose 16 and draw 8 of them. Arsenal have now won 399 home wins in the Premier League. Havertz has been in excellent goal-scoring form at the Emirates. I think that Arsenal will record a 400th win in the Premier League on Saturday. So I'm going for a win for Arsenal. Arsenal 3, Southampton 0.
Okay, next up it's Brentford Wolves, and as you alluded to earlier, we were watching the games or the scores coming in last weekend together, and we both looked at each other when Brentford took the lead in the first minute. The third time in a row that they'd taken the lead after just 1 minute. What do you see them doing against Wolves at home this weekend?
Well, Wolves remain winless so far with 5 defeats and 1 draw. As you mentioned, the Brentford have scored in the first minute of first seconds of the first minute in the last 3 games and not won any of them. Indeed, they've not gone on to score another goal in any of those games. I don't think they'll score early on Saturday, but I do believe they'll win. Brentford 2, Wolves 0.
Okay, next up it's Leicester against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth have won the last 3 Premier League games versus Leicester. Leicester have won 2 from 12. Both of them were at home. And they are also winless. They've drawn 3 and lost 3. I'm not going for a win for either side. I'm going for score draw. Leicester 1, Bournemouth 1.
Okay, and we move on to Manchester City against Fulham. Seemingly a straightforward game on paper, you'd say, but City haven't really been looking themselves the last few times we've seen them, have they?
No, they haven't. Although you must admit that the fixtures have had Newcastle away and Arsenal at home have not been the easiest for them. Fulham are unbeaten in the last 5 Premier games after losing their first game. And they had an excellent win last week away at Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately for them, City have won the last 16 meetings in all competitions and looking to become the 4th team to go 50 plus home games without a defeat. And I don't think that'll change. Manchester City 3, Fulham 0.
Okay, so you're not writing City off. A few people saying that they're not on the ball. There's other teams that look more dangerous. But we've seen this from City before, haven't we? We've seen them just on the shoulder coming towards the end of the year, coming into Christmas, not necessarily firing all cylinders, but then ready to pounce and go on a run that we all know they can do and ultimately go on to win the league.
Yeah, teams that go on to win the league usually have a very strong post-Christmas season. So I don't think there's any concerns. I mean, what they've drawn to, but they've not lost any. Liverpool, who are top of the league, have lost 1 game. They can only afford to lose 2 more or 3 more games if you look at the Premier League last year. So I don't think there's any concern at all for City. And indeed, I can't see there been a huge problem for them at for their home fixture this weekend.
Okay, City fans, no need to panic just yet, according to Brian. And the final 3 p.m. game this Saturday is West Ham versus Ipswich.
Well, Ipswich have managed to draw the last 4 Premier League games. West Ham have lost all 3 of their home games this season, which is very much a surprise. I don't think they'll lose 4 in a row. I don't think it'll be a draw either. I think it's going to be the first home win for the Hammers. West Ham 2, Ipswich 1.
2-1 West Ham. Okay, we've reached half-time on this week's episode of Premier League Predictions. I'm going to slurp on an isotonic energy drink, and I'm sure Brian's going to chew on a piece of orange, and we'll be right back after this quick break. Hello and welcome back to Premier League Predictions. I'm here with Brian McClair and we're going through this week's Premier League fixtures. The 5:30 game on Saturday is Everton at home to Newcastle. Now, Brian, you broke your duck when it comes to Everton this year. I think you pretty much tip them every week to get a win, which seemed to work in the opposite way. But this time you were right. After going a goal down home to Palace, they came back and finally claimed their first 3 points. So are you going to take credit for that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I've always been quite fond of Everton, only because the main rivalry was Liverpool. Although Everton were the last time Everton were very successful was in the time that I was playing, and I used to thoroughly enjoy going to Goodison. Having spent the day in Liverpool last weekend when the game was on, Everton managed to win. However, we met one supporter of 30 plus years who told me that it was the worst first half he'd ever seen at Goodison Park. He was pleased that they had won the game, but he was dismayed by the performance in the first half. And it's Newcastle's best start in the Premier League for 13 years. We've got 11 points. I think they'll have 12 after Saturday evening's game. Everton 2, Newcastle 2.
Okay, sitting on the fence, or no, make your own mind up. But I think
I don't. I can't. As I said, Everton now they've won the game. I don't think they're being as poor as the results would suggest. Apart from maybe the thing now that they're going to play really badly in the first half, because in the previous games they've played well up to 70, 75 minutes and then suffered a collapse. So maybe they've found a remedy to that. And but I think that Newcastle have been playing particularly well. Thought they played very well last week at home to Manchester City. They've got a pretty reasonable record against Everton. But I think this will be a game that will end up in a draw, but we'll have to wait and see.
We shall indeed. Now let's go on to the Sunday games, and it's the first of the 2:00 games is a rather mouth-watering tie. It's Aston Villa against Manchester United. Now we've had a few people contacting us right here on the Premier League predictions saying that you're a little bit biased when it comes to your predictions, and how long can this loyalty to United carry on? You pick them to win every week, and as we saw last week,
I haven't picked them to win every week. I haven't picked them to win every week. It's just that I haven't got them right.
Fair enough.
I think I've got one right, which is the first game of the season. You have to stick by your team. This game has everything to suggest that it should be a home win. However, Manchester United's record against Aston Villa, both in Manchester and in Birmingham, is pretty exceptional. Last year, Manchester United won both games, although Aston Villa dominated both of those games and somehow managed to contrive to lose both games. And I'm going to go again against the odds and the predictions probably for most people, and go for an away win. Something that Ten Hag is desperately in need for. As after that we come into an international break, and it's a long time to wait for the next Premier League fixture. So I'm going to predict Villa to score a goal. They've got some players that are in huge goal scoring form, and I know that Manchester United have only managed to score 5 goals in their Premier League games so far. But I'm looking from somewhere, don't know exactly where, and I'm not completely confident that they'll manage to get 2 goals. Aston Villa 1, Manchester United 2.
Heart rolling the head, methinks there, but we've only got 10-15 minutes.
Well, that's what they say wonderful about this game, isn't it? It's a matter of an opinion, and I'm quite willing to be shot down again.
Well, it is a matter of opinion. That's what I want to ask you about. And like I say, we've only got 10-15 minutes on this, but going back to what happened last week at Tottenham, can you start to put your finger on what went so wrong in that game at Old Trafford?
Well, I mean, it goes wrong right at the very beginning, where and to me, the it's in the detail of when you're talking about your opponents and what your opponents, particularly what your opponent's strengths are. Now, I've not watched every single game that Tottenham have played, but I do know that Van de Ven is very quick, and I do know that he likes to run forward with the ball into the opposition's half. Now, as soon as he picks a ball up, which is maybe 20 yards from his own goals, and starts to run forward, and nobody goes towards him, you are then, as a supporter, immediately on your feet shouting that, come on, somebody needs to challenge him, not back off. And they backed off, and because of his pace, he runs past 4 players, gets to the byline and cuts a wonderful ball that the goalkeeper can't get anywhere near. And then you have to question the other defenders about where were they when Tottenham tapped the ball in at the back post from a yard. And I suppose the nice thing was that Johnson, who scored the goals, was delighted to score. He's already celebrating before he scored because you could see him smiling before he taps the ball into his net. But David's father was a young player at Manchester United in my time, so indeed his dad was in the director's box, and he had a very good game. So they go 1-0 down, and after that Tottenham have got a plan, a very good plan, stick to it. Win more balls, pass more balls, and indeed have a lot more chances on target. And United go down to 10 men. I thought it was a straight red card. But before that, you know, I don't think you could say anything that made a big difference to the game, because United probably had more opportunities and more attacks in the second half with 10 men than they did with 11. Unfortunately for any Manchester United fan, is that Tottenham were completely dominant in that game. And contrary to that, of course, if you're a Spurs fan, you'd be really pleased that you're because there was a little bit of disgruntlement, I think, around what had been happening with Spurs and Postecoglou. But I've said on record many times, I think Postecoglou is a very good manager. He knows what he wants. He's very good at putting that over. I don't think there's any misunderstanding with his players with regards to what the plan is. The plan went very well for him, and indeed, considering that who I think probably the most effective player was missing, Son, and had he been playing rather than Timo Werner, who worked very hard in the game and was in some chances, but we couldn't convert any of them. I think that Son may have converted at least one of those chances. So overall, a very bad day for Manchester United, a very good one for Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, I'm sure the Manchester United inquest will carry on throughout the season. For now, we're going to move on, though, and the second 2 o'clock game on Sunday is Chelsea against Nottingham Forest.
Well, what a first half for Chelsea last week in going a goal down. And then Cole Palmer steps in and he hits the post before he scored, or just after he scores. He's hit the post and he manages to score 4 goals in the first half, which is something that no other player has achieved in Premier League history. Although Forest won this fixture last season and drew the bridge the season before, I think Chelsea are firm favourites. And if Forest try and play the high line against Chelsea that happened last weekend, they could be in big trouble, because that's where Palmer continually broke through and in 1v1 situations with the opposition goalkeeper. He scored 4 in the first half, as I said. He could have scored more in the game. Chelsea in fine scoring form, and I think Chelsea will continue that on Sunday. Chelsea 3, Nottingham Forest 1.
Okay, and that brings us to the final game on Sunday, the final game of the weekend. Indeed, it's Brighton and Hove Albion against the aforementioned Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, I mean, as Brighton in the game against Chelsea had the majority of possession, had more passes, more touches, and they went ahead, but still managed to lose. And as I say, if they play the same defensive high line on Sunday against Tottenham, they'll be in for a tough day. Postecoglou must have been ecstatic by his team's performance at Old Trafford. 24 shots, 10 on target. As I said, they'll be hoping that Son is fit, but I think there's the much maligned Timo Werner did very well, apart from, as I mentioned earlier, managed to get on the score sheet. So I think that Spurs will come away with another away win, or come away from the South Coast with another win, and I think it could be Brighton 1, Tottenham 2.
Okay, music to the ears of Tottenham fans. Okay, that brings us to the end of this week's Premier League predictions. Let's see if you can go one better this week, Brian, although with that United win away at Villa, you might be struggling, I think. Do let us know what you think, if you agree with Brian or if you don't, in the comments below, and we'll be back with you next time. So we'll see you then.